Hi there. I want to talk for a moment about compassion. And it's probably one of those things that conjures up a lot of judgment, right? We all have ideas, okay, what are we talking about here with compassion? For the purposes of mindfulness and the purposes of training in this particular model of health and well-being, we can think of compassion as a quality of our relationship to our own suffering and to the suffering of others. Okay? So another way of framing compassion is that compassion is observing the suffering of others and having a desire to intervene, a desire to do something about it. Now, we're going to contrast that with empathy. Empathy would be observing the suffering of others and feeling into the suffering of others. So we're embodying that suffering, and we may also have a desire to intervene, a desire to do something about that suffering. But the difference between compassion and empathy is really important because we often use this term compassion fatigue when we talk about occupational trauma. We really don't see compassion fatiguing. What we see is a stress injury of empathic distress fatigue. So empathy, when we move into states of empathy too much, that can erode our capacity to show up with empathy. And so what we really want to focus on with mindfulness is training to compassion. And compassion might be thought of as a set of skills. Okay, it's just one way to think of compassion. And the first skill is awareness. Awareness of body, feelings, emotions, thoughts, and then the patterns and connections of all of those over time. The second skill might be thought of as self-compassion. Our ability to hold compassion for ourselves shores our ability to hold compassion for others. And the third one that might be pretty interesting is distress tolerance, the ability to be uncomfortable. The skill of being uncomfortable supports our ability to hold compassion for other people. Boundary maintenance, holding boundaries with compassion and empathy, knowing when to move maybe back away from certain levels of empathy and hold some boundaries is a compassionate skill. And then there's something called a cognitive empathy, or a desire to understand the causes and conditions. So it's I see that you're suffering and I understand that you're suffering, but I'm not feeling into your suffering. And I also have a curiosity about the complex causes and conditions that brought that suffering. Another skill might be thought of as courageous authenticity, or we use the term vulnerability with this as well. Just being courageously authentic. The ability to hold compassion for others requires some vulnerability. And then finally, the last skill that we like to talk about with compassion is a reflection on altruism, on meaning, on mission, and purpose, to really believe that what we're doing has meaning, collectively, individually, and as a system, right? So compassion is a skill that we can train to. Empathy is a skill that we can train to, but also hold boundaries with. And compassion can be a critical skill in our health and well-being. Mindfulness skills training can help shore up our compassion skills through all of these skills we talked about, but fundamentally it begins with paying attention to what we are experiencing in this remarkable human system of mind and body, and learning how to be attuned to it, how to regulate it, how to hold self-compassion. Thank you.